Hello everyone and welcome to your next lesson. Today we're going to be looking at some awesome language that you can use to answer common questions in Task 1. First, let's take a look at how Task 1 is structured. This part of the IELTS speaking test will last between 4 and 5 minutes, and there are lots of common topics that we can practice for. You will be asked 12 questions in total, and your answers will be around 25 to 30 seconds, depending on the type of questions you're asked. The first 4 questions are most commonly about your work, studies, and your hometown. After that, you'll answer 8 questions on 2 common topics. The first thing that happens when you enter the room is a greeting and introduction with your IELTS examiner. This is part of the test and goes towards your final grade. You will be asked 4 scripted questions, and these questions really do not change throughout the world. The examiner is really looking to see if you have any difficulties when answering these simple questions, so keep your answers simple, but do not sound robotic. Let's take a look at the questions and some responses. The examiner will say hello, and usually they will give you their name, and then they will ask for your name. It's really important to be friendly and make eye contact because this shows that you are a confident language user. Here you can simply say, "Hello, nice to meet you. My name is..." The examiner will then ask you what you would like to be called during the test, as many people have a nickname or an English name. "Please call me David." Now notice that I'm trying to sound enthusiastic, as this will help with my overall levels of fluency and communication. Next, the examiner will ask where you come from, and of course you can keep your answer quite simple. Then you'll be asked to show your identification. You can use these answers that I've given you here in the IELTS speaking test, but please do not sound robotic and sound enthusiastic about taking the test. Now you'll answer 12 questions about common topics, and the first 4 questions are commonly about work, home, and studies. I'll give you full answers to these questions so that you can pause, repeat, and learn all this awesome language. The first question will almost certainly be about where you grew up. In this question, what is it like where you grew up? The examiner is actually asking your opinion, so it's quite a lot easier to give a longer answer. I grew up in Seoul, which is a sprawling modern city in South Korea. My neighbourhood was just on the outskirts of the city, which meant I was lucky enough to be closer to some great national parks and scenic escapes. It was quite a different environment to downtown Seoul. So this is quite a developed and detailed answer, which uses some advanced vocabulary such as sprawling and scenic. It's probably a good idea to repeat my answers again and again and keep practicing with me. Let's move on to the next question. Where do you live now? This is actually asking you for facts, so it could be a shorter answer. However, in my answer, I've tried to add lots of language and detail. When I was around 14 years old, me and my family moved away to a smaller city in the south of the country. I found it hard to adjust at first as I missed the big city, but now I love it as it is a lot less crowded and chaotic. Using synonyms such as chaotic proves that you have a large word bank and that you can use vocabulary of a higher level. Sometimes you may have to estimate or guess. In this answer, when I was around 14 years old, the student doesn't know exactly, but that's not a problem as long as you are confident to be able to estimate. Do you live in a house or a flat? In Seoul, me and my family lived in an apartment. It was pretty cramped actually. But then, when we moved to the south of the country, we moved into a townhouse. I couldn't believe how lucky we were to have so much space. You'll see in a lot of these answers that I give you, there are extra details given, such as in this answer, the student referring to his house in the past and comparing it to his house now, which really shows a great deal of confidence in his language skills. Where would you like to live in the future? I'm hoping to work or study in Europe. Ideally, I would like to live in Germany as I find the culture there really intriguing. First, I'll have to pass the IELTS test. Hopefully, I'll do that today. If you can use humour in your answers, you should really try it because it shows that you are relaxed, confident and fluent to answer these questions. Words such as intriguing can easily be replaced with synonyms such as interesting, but it's an advanced piece of vocabulary and using it will get you extra points. Let's move on to some questions for work and study. I'll say this again, but to practice, please do pause the audio and repeat the language after me. Note down any key phrases that you want to use in your study time. Let's take a look at this question. So the examiner is asking, what is your job? And the answer, right now I'm working part-time as a chef at a European restaurant. I've always been passionate about working with food and feel rewarded when customers tell me they enjoyed eating my dishes. It is sometimes quite stressful, but I never find myself clock watching. The final phrase clock watching is an idiomatic expression which means wasting time or watching time. Using phrases like this will really supercharge your score. Do you work well with your colleagues? By colleagues, the examiner means the people that you work with. If you need to ask the examiner a question to check your understanding, you can definitely do this, and there's a lesson on that later in the course. Yes, as the job is high-paced, I have to work really closely with all the staff at the restaurant and make sure we don't make mistakes and errors. Because of that, we trust each other a lot. We've become like a big family, I think. This is a logical and well-organised answer, as the student gives reason by using because. Try and do that in your answers in the speaking test. What do you study? Right now, I'm studying full-time as an English language student here in the city. It's quite challenging, but I feel like I'm becoming more fluent each week. Hopefully that will continue. And here again, even though we can see that the question, what do you study, is quite short, we can quite easily give extra details and explain our thinking using some really nice language. Is it a popular subject in your country? I would say that it's quite popular. Yes, it's an in-demand subject to learn. I think that's because it opens the door to so many different kinds of work, as well as living abroad. Once again, in this answer, the student is using because, which means that they're thinking logically and organising their thoughts and ideas. You can definitely practice this organisational skill, and there are lots of lessons on it later on in the course. So we've covered some of the common topics of home, work and study. I'll show you some examples of other common topics now. It's really important that you practice a variety of topics so that you're really prepared on the IELTS speaking test day. But do go back to my answers and examples and steal it, rehearse it, own it. Make this language your own by practicing and repeating. Do remember, it's so important to be friendly, make eye contact, and seem enthusiastic about the questions answered. Now guys, if you want me to make more videos about the topics that you can see here, then please let me know. Drop me a message or post in the questions and answers section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Keep going with your learning and I will speak to you soon.